What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy Podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss, alongside combat sport expert Big Rich Fulgoni. And today we'll be discussing Noche UFC, Lopes vs. Silva that went down Saturday night in San Antone. Then we'll deep dive the featherweight division and analyze what's next for champion Alexander Volkanovski. Then we'll also take a look at the recent decline of the fighting nerds. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll go through the card, break down all the big fights, and analyze what's next for the winning fighters. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get rolling. Let's go, baby. Noche UFC, Lopes vs. Silva. Listen, it was a pretty good night of fights. Nothing is as good as Paris now, though. Everything needs to be as clean as Paris, but definitely the San Antonio crowd brought it. But you can see a little bit of a level off from that insane European crowd. But I still liked it. It was a decent night of fights. I don't think the card was that stacked. There wasn't enough rankings for your boy, but the main event was big. Lopes versus Silva. Let's check this out, Richie boy. Obviously, Lopes, number 2 in the world versus challenger Jean Silva, number 10 in the world. Let's go through the fight really quickly. You and me, Richie, we both took Silva. We thought he was maybe going to steamroll through Lopes. That's not what happened, though, baby. So the first round starts, and boom, Lopes, very smart game plan, gets a big key takedown about a minute in, and then all of a sudden has Silva in trouble. He was landing elbows, he was landing punches, and he had the full mount position. Silva was in big trouble. It was almost going to be stopped. There was a second there. I was like, oh my God, are they going to stop this fight? And I was screaming because our pick was on the line. But Silva, give him credit. He hung in there, even though he was in a very terrible position. And he finally got up, I think, with about a minute to go or something like that. And then he had life. But obviously, Lopes definitely dominates, gets round 1. And then boom, on the feet, Silva round 2. Here's the interesting thing, though, Rich. You got to say, like, his punches started landing, but because he had been on the bottom for that 3 minutes, I don't know if they were as deadly. Like, he was a little bit tired with the strikes, but then he warmed up. He started landing, turned the fight around. It looked like Lopes was in trouble a couple times, but I don't know if Silva had the same crisp power that he normally does because of that whole ground control. And then we all know, just as Silva was turning the tides, he got a little cocky, boom, spinning back elbow that got the side of the head. I didn't even see it. I was like, what the hell landed? Silva goes down. Lopes rain shots. Dominic Cruz said it was a little premature. I don't agree. Cormier and you and me both like that stoppage. So I'll turn it over to you in a second. Definitely shocking. Lopes stands his ground, gets his number 2 ranking, solidifies it, and now he's still a player there. What do you say about this?
Man, first off, hats off to Lopes, right? He showed us that he really is top of the division talent. He's going to be vying for the belts again. He fought a really valiant fight against Volk, and actually hurt him late, right? And he took a lot of big punches and kept walking through those. So I think that translated here, right? We saw just tough and grit from him. Those punches, whether or not they had as much on them as they usually would, he still ate a lot of clean punches and kept his wits about him and was ready to strike. And I think you saw in some of the post-fight, scrum that he actually was practicing those elbows in the locker room. Was something he, knowing that Jean Silva was going to be aggressive and come forward, he had those ready in his arsenal. Yeah, man, just tremendous performance. The fighting nerds took a big hit these last few weeks. Obviously, they all went up in massive steps in competition, right? So, they weren't going to all reign supreme. They were going to take some losses along the way. I think Silva is probably the one who can bounce back the quickest. I think he reminds me of Yoel Romero, right? He might be on the spectrum a little bit. He's very creative with his striking and his attacks, but he gets reckless at times, and you see what happens there with that elbow, right? If he would have just played it safe, he was starting to piece up and time really well with his striking and giving Lopes clean shots to the face, right? So if he would have played it safe and kept distance, I think we could have seen a much different fight. But Lopes, credit to him, he capitalized on that and took him out.
So yeah, what a win. As you can see here, what a big shining moment for Diego Lopes, because he was in trouble there. It looked like Silva was turning the fight, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go, just like that Mitchell second round. But he had such a great chin. And again, I don't know if Silva's strikes were as landing as impactful as they were to Mitchell in the previous fight because of that rough first round that he had. But it definitely looked like Silva was in the driver's seat, right? And Lopes, man, weathers the storm and hits an unbelievable highlight spinning back elbow. Seems to be more of those going around the damn UFC. So you already addressed it. but man, your nerds took a hit, baby.
Big
so
time.
let's go through this again. Barralho goes down to Imavov. Ruffy goes down to Saint Denis. Prates did lose to Gary, but reset himself against Neil, right? And so all fighting nerds have now gone down. You know, they're still in it. They all had valiant efforts, but they seemed untouchable before. And maybe that's not the case anymore. Any last words on the nerds? Do you feel like they're all going to rebound from this? Are they fine?
Yeah, they're young in their career. I don't know if they're all going to be champions, right? But they definitely can all climb the ranks still. I think Silva's still got probably the most promising career. Maybe you put Prates behind him at that, and Kyle's probably right along there with him. Ruffy's got some work to do for sure, with the grappling and his jiu-jitsu. There's some holes there, definitely. But this kind of made me think, they were sort of the talk of the town as far as one of the best gyms. This makes me think about Aspinall's camp. We just saw the week prior, we saw Ante Delia with a massive victory. He's been training hard with Aspinall and his dad, and his hands look great, and he got a great career victory for himself, making a statement in the UFC. And then also Buskauskas was also training with them as well, and he got a great victory. So maybe there's another camp that should be stepping up and getting a little more eyes on it. But the nerds will be back. I don't know if they'll all touch gold, but I think definitely Silva, Kyle, and Prates could still have a shot.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is look ahead. Lopes with the big win. What does that mean for the division? Okay, so featherweight division. Let's take a look at this. You got Volkanovski at the top. Everybody knows I've been ranting and raving. Where's the fight, Dana? You're screwing us. There's rumors now pointing to Volkanovski, Murphy in December, but we're right at the 3-month mark. Let's get this booked. We've been dilly-dallying talking about this for months, and Volk came out with a tweet last night after the win being like, yeah, it's probably all lackadaisical. Yeah, it's probably December. I'm just like, what the hell?
Fired up.
That got me pissed off. It's like, enough of this. We know Evloev, we just looked at his injury. He's sidelined still, right? So I think what we like here is Volkanovski Murphy, because Murphy looked so good against Pico. I think he deserves it now, and he gives Volk the biggest challenge. But what we love now here is Lopes Rodriguez, because they got all that Mexican beef. I know Lopes, born in Brazil, but he's been in Mexico since he's 19, and they had all that beef at the press conference, if you remember. So I would love to see Volkanovski Murphy. Let's get that done for December. And then a quick turnaround, Lopes Rodriguez, because Rodriguez has been sitting there. Don't forget Sterling, though. So if Lopes is a little bit hurt, that was a rough and tumble fight with Silva. Maybe he needs a month or so off. Let Sterling jump in and at least get a fight against Rodriguez, right? And we don't need to look down at the whole division, but just really quickly, Silva now, he's still game. If he didn't get caught with that punch, it looked like he was maybe turning the fight around. So now maybe give him an Arnold Allen who's been sitting there, right? I know Emmett and Zalal are already booked. Maybe let him fight Patricio, because Pitbull just pulled out of that fight because the weight miss by that new guy Kita. So now Pitbull needs somebody. So maybe they want to have that crazy Brazilian nutbag showdown of Silva, Patricio, Pitbull. Do you see that the same way I'm looking at this division here?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, right? With Evloev out, he's out indefinitely. We have no idea what the injury is and when he's coming back. I think Murphy is definitely the fight to make. And then you got the grudge match with Diego and Yair. That is going to be absolute fireworks.
Huge.
Beyond the bad blood. They're both just crazy strikers, tough chins. You remember that Yair fight with the Korean Zombie with that last minute spinning elbow knockout was absolutely incredible. And then you've seen this chin of Diego Lopes tested in major ways in his last few matchups. One victorious, one loss. But there's going to be an absolute fireworks between those two. Let's see the grudge match. And then, yeah, you're right. I think Sterling's hanging out right there. You could potentially make that fight with him and Allen, or he could be a backup, like you said, if there's an issue with Lopes. But I think Lopes is a gamer. I don't think he took too much damage. I think there's a chance he could turn around and take that fight. So exciting stuff.
Okay, and one last little call out. Don't forget your boy Garcia at number 12 on that run, baby, because maybe he could jump in and go against a Silva right now, or maybe a sliding Ortega or Arnold Allen who doesn't have anybody. Also, surprisingly, he's still a player in that bottom half. Hopefully you guys love that. That's our divisional analysis. No one else gets as detailed as we do at Savvy, baby. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. If you love these weekly episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, check out the old MMA Savvy videos on our page. You might see some UFC legends pop up, such as Nick Diaz, Ronda Rousey, John Jones. The old channel has been revived, and we couldn't be more excited. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast on all of our social channels. We're blasting hard on the talk, we're heavy on the gram, and we're going crazy on the tube. That's at MMA Savvy. And make sure to comment and challenge our takes if you have disagreements. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.